I'm Kevin, and I'm living through the federal occupation in Minnesota. Although people think of the murders of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, as well as the unrest surrounding George Floyd's murder when they think of Minnesota, the people of Minnesota have had a long history of witnessing state violence. Today, I speak with Kelsey. She was one of the first people on the scene after Renee Good was murdered. We discussed the day while reacting to Mercado Media footage from the scene. Although I wasn't there, I watched a live stream that entire day and got to experience it through Andrew's lenses. Kelsey discusses witnessing the violence, stepping in to help street medics, and how that inspired her to become trained as well. Outside of that, we go over reasons to be involved in the resistance, parenting under the occupation, as well as being the daughter of a police officer. I hope you enjoy the conversation. This is Occupation Breakdown. Yeah, if you just want to kind of walk me through your day when Renee Good died, just kind of what happened that day and what led you to the site of the shooting.
Yeah. So that morning I had headed to St. Paul. I was looking for some sort of mutual aid work to do, whether grocery delivery or buying groceries or whatnot. And I had opened Instagram and I saw that MIRAC, the Minnesota Immigration Rights Action Committee, is that right? Had posted on their Instagram story 4 minutes prior to me seeing it that a legal observer had been shot in South Minneapolis. They gave the intersection and they said we need people there on the scene, and so that's where I headed. I arrived, I believe, 38th and Portland, 34th and Portland. Arrived there around 10:15. People were just starting to gather. There was a small group at this intersection that was just filled with ICE vehicles and ICE agents kind of standing around, milling around. It wasn't really obvious what had happened. I didn't see any victims or anyone. And it was kind of word of mouth, people just passing along, like someone had gotten shot. They were taking HCMC and we heard they died. I walked up Portland a little ways and I saw Renee's vehicle. And I'm like looking at, I'm kind of across the street from him and looking at it. I'm like, there's an airbag and there's blood all over. It's like just shocking. Just, all these ICE agents just standing there. People were yelling at them, really angry. And so after a while, there started to be more people there. And I believe like MPD showed up, and then it seemed like they were trying to, like clear the scene in a way. And so then we saw like ICE agents starting to get in the cars and try to leave, and people were very angry and they were throwing snowballs at them and throwing ice, and then they started deploying tear gas like at very close range to some people on the streets. I had been kind of preparing myself for like street medic type work and what to do. And so when I had arrived there, I threw a bunch of water bottles in my backpack and that's what I was carrying. And so I saw people get tear gas and started pouring water in their eyes, and ICE left and I saw an actual street medic and kind of joined up with them, introduced myself, and spent the rest of the time there watching the scene with MPD and kind of looking out for anybody who might need medical attention, and honestly, just learning from the medics that were there.
So almost like on the job training, like holy shit.
Totally.
Okay, so I remember, and I think I'm not quite to that point. I've been watching the video here and
Mm,
I'm gonna pull it up here and then we could
yeah.
just kind of like flip through it, and then if we find the
Mhm.
time. And this is really, I can't imagine what it feels like for, is this, how many times have you actually like kind of walked through this day with people? Have you done it much?
A handful. Um, I mean, like, immediately afterwards, I was kinda like, "Holy shit," talking to my brother and to
Yeah.
my husband and my friends. But I do think there's some aspect of it, especially, like, not knowing the whole story and then later seeing the videos come out of what actually happened to Renee after, like, being there in this confusion and seeing her car and seeing, her blood, and then after so, like, later in the day, towards the end of the day when they, like, towed the car away, when MPD finally left, when everything was all clear, then, people started moving towards the area where she had been pulled out of her car and where she, had died, and that was the start of the vigil, and so, just being there in the silence after all of the chaos, there's yeah, just a lot there that I think is might need to be processed with a professional at some time, but, right now we're still kind of in the panic fight mode that, that's just put aside for now.
Yeah,
It's just
absolutely.
sad, just so sad.
No, and yeah, and I can't even imagine being there, the way you were personally to have witnessed it. And I wasn't even there per se, but I literally this is how I spent the day. Um and I think it was, I don't know, at 10. So I was, right after 10. So it was probably at the same time. Um and I just happened to, take a little break at work for a second. I
Yeah,
opened my phone and it's like, "Oh, Mercado just went live." Uh,
yeah,
and he's like, "Hey, I'm walking up to the scene of a, suspected shooting." And then that was my day. Uh, so I mean, I was there, and so and I remember, I think I'm getting close to it. So this is kind of, I have the speed a little bit faster just to kind of move it through.
yeah,
I think it's but basically this is when, Bovino's already here, the police chief's already here, and it starts to get more tense. And it's funny because I noticed, because I hadn't met him until more recently, but Derek the activist,
Derek,
he's got,
yes. Oh
yeah,
my
yeah.
gosh.
So
He, like, gave me
there
so
is
much
an
heart there. Like,
there is a,
the
there
things
is a
yeah, go ahead, sorry.
change in the feeling of, like, just the auto, because what I'm hearing is just what's
Mhm.
happening around. You're staring at the
Yeah,
scene, but just like the intensity of the situation just goes, like, amplifies once she gets there
yeah,
and starts
yeah,
getting the crowd going, and it
yes.
just gets more and more tense, and I'm like, "Oh, man,
Mhm.
it's great." But let me know if you could hear the volume here.
Oh, I got caught on the fire, man. Can I mount me? I know you know me. You all know my name. You guys also dance me online, my
Yeah, you
people.
could just hear
If
him.
you always dance me online, say my access people.
You're not protecting anybody. You're not saving anybody.
Yeah, and a few vehicles, some of the first vehicles had just
You got your
left.
hands on my name. Right
Mhm.
beside
I
me.
think on
Right
here they
beside me from
just
here. Shame
had
on you.
realized,
You still
I don't
go
know, I
under
think it was
reason.
10 minutes ago they realized that she was actually dead.
Yeah,
They thought it
yeah,
was a different car. So they thought it was like a different car. Nobody realized it was this car yet. I know at some point
yeah.
here,
So now you got Hennepin County Sheriff out here.
okay, the Hennepin shows up. I'm trying to
So
Are they
timestamp
I
it.
providing
was
a
probably
police line?
standing right next
That's
to
crazy.
Andrew Mercado here. Yeah,
You
I'm
okay? That's what I was going to ask
I
you.
was, like, right up there. Yeah, yeah. That was my view. I was right there watching them all.
So I actually remember when I met you at the sound protest.
Mhm.
I remember being like, "God damn, you look familiar," and I couldn't figure it out. So
Did you find me in the
I may have seen you
Yeah,
on here,
yeah.
but let's see. So 50. I'm just writing down timestamps. So 54.
I'm gonna have to go back and look at this and be like, "Oh, yeah, there I was." 'Cause, I mean, I know they were, like, walking back and forth on the same sidewalk where I was at, and I had some choice words for the ICE officers for a time there before it was just like, I don't know how to let the other people yell at them.
Yeah. Is the volume really loud for?
It is really loud on my side. Is it loud for you?
Yeah, it was like screeching loud. Okay, so let me see if I can get this lower. It looks like it's like already really low. Okay, let's try this.
Okay. Oh, it's better.
No, we were on the street That's crazy. So you got Hennepin County Sheriff's Office here doing a police line for him.
I feel like this is around when some of the intensity kind of starts. Maybe not immediately, but at some point here, it's when they exit, and that's what I remember. And I remember I think there was the alley they were blocking or something, and then there's the one guy that gets like point blank.
Yeah. The
I don't know if you were near that.
so he went down, everybody else dispersed, and I was just like, I don't know, maybe 100 feet from that, helping people rinse out their eyes, and I saw one of the medics run towards him, so I went too, and we helped like get him up and walk him out of the cloud of tear gas and decotton him, and yeah, that was, so I was pretty close to all that going down in the alley.
So when you're talking about learning this stuff on the spot, what
Yeah.
what is that like? Walk me through that process. How does
Yeah.
that happen? Like, what are those conversations like? What are they telling you?
What I learned was the street medics that were there were so organized, and they had this common understanding of what the mission was. And I don't know why I was surprised by that. I'm a medical provider. We train by shadowing. And so essentially it was like, just, hey, I'm doing a rotation. I'm doing a shadow shift with these professionals and learning from them. And they, by nature of medicine, and especially street medics, they were willing to teach me. They found out what my profession is, and they're like, oh, you could do this stuff. And I was like, no, I'm here to learn from you, because I don't, I'm not an EMT, I'm not a paramedic, I don't work on the streets. This is a totally different realm from what I'm used to practicing in. But essentially I learned, they have a buddy system. They're always paired up or more. There were several different groups of medics posted around the area, and they were able to communicate by radio, or they would check in with each other and go back to where they're at. Always checking in with each other, hey, are you okay? I'll do this, you do that. Just such clear communication. It was surprising, and I was just so impressed. And I was like, this is the kind of organization and like on the ground care that I want to learn and be able to provide in these situations.
So I mean, you're almost like, I wanna shadow you, and they're like,
Mhm.
no time, job's here,
No, they
you
were
know?
like, yeah, they were like, sure, here, come on. And they just started telling me what they're doing. They're like, this is what we're looking for. These are the sorts of things that we do. This is what we have in our packs. Um, we're watching the crowd for the energy to change. And that's when we know like something might happen. Like, so that, all of the tear gassing and everything, like it happened, ICE left. And then we helped the people, and then it was probably, I mean, it felt like maybe 2.5 hours of MPD at this intersection, having it all blocked off, and people just there and frustrated, and as a community presence. And our role was really just watching for like, okay, are there signs of escalation? Are like the medics would be like, okay, they're putting, like, oh, I see that guy, he's putting his gas mask on, it's about to get spicy. And then like they'd put their stuff on, and then it didn't like nobody tear gassed anybody after that. Nobody used any chemical weapons. So we didn't end up doing any other of that sort of like decontamination. But that gave time for them to say like, the other things we can watch for. These are common things that happen that we care for. The only other thing that happened during that time was there was someone who looked like they were having a mental health crisis. At first, it seemed like they were an agitator, because they were kind of up front on the police line, started throwing fists, and we watched kind of from a higher place them get like pushed out of the crowd, and people like kind of pushing them out and punching them and everything. And so we're just kind of watching, and it's like, we don't like get involved and break that up, but we're there to, like care for injuries or care for somebody when the scene is safe. And it was just like, again, so like methodical, but also that seems very much on par for EMT work or paramedic work, first responder work. It's like you don't become a victim yourself, right? Otherwise you can't help people. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you keep in touch with any of these people, or was it just kind of a happenstance? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let me ask you personally.
Yeah.
I have no idea when you started paying attention to politics. I don't know shit about your background, about your belief systems, anything like that. So when did you find yourself interested in this work, or when did you become like, moved enough to maybe join or, do any of those things and actively, or like, have you been around protests in the past? Is this a new thing? Like, can you walk me through that?
Yeah. I think the first the f- yeah, the first real event that happened that got me involved with protesting was when Philando Castile was murdered. That was in 2016 in Falcon Heights, Minnesota. That happened like just I went to the U of M and I was on the St. Paul campus. That happened right down the street. It was so close to my first apartment there. And so that made it so visceral and so real to me, where it was like that happened. Like that man was murdered in cold blood on our streets of our community. And that it was captured on video and on Facebook Live, where you could just pull it up and watch, that had happened to him. In the immediate aftermath of that, I'm trying to remember. I can't remember if like I was part of the protests initially when that happened. I I think so. It's a little unclear, but what I do remember is that when the killer was on trial, I think around a year later, and he was not convicted. He was found not guilty. There were some major protests after that, and I attended those. So there was a march that started on the Capitol and went down University and ended up shutting down 94. So like I was a part of that. And the next day there was another protest in I want to say Columbia Heights, which was the police department that he was a part of, and then another action after that. And so that was my first like, holy shit, this is state sanctioned violence like in my city. And I'm really pissed off about it. And I'm going to put myself out there. And then, of course, George Floyd and then Dante Wright and Amir Locke and on and on and on, so it's been several years with George Floyd. Our family was incredibly COVID cautious. We worked from home. We had our child homeschooled. And so like going out to the protest for that was not like a risk that we um were willing to take on, as much as it was like, oh, we want to be there.
Mhm.
So, but, watching Mercado Media, watching Stesky, watching Unicorn Riot while all that's going down. And I remember seeing like the medics there and like as a medical provider being like, that's how I can be a part of this. Like that's where my energy can go to, and
Yeah.
never really figuring out the right opportunity to get involved with them until, and that's why like when I showed up after Renee Good was killed, I was like, water bottles in my backpack. I know that much. And then, introduce myself to the medics because I was like, I want to do what they do. Because I'm not the type of person to like stand there and yell at ICE officers. Like that doesn't feel good for me, or yell at police officers. I think that's for other people. But for me, I'm like that my energy needs to go in something where I have a skill, and that's in medicine.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so I actually I grew up in Northwest Indiana, so Chicagoland, just right over the border.
Hmm.
And I moved here. It wasn't from Chicago, but from Indianapolis in November 2015.
Mm.
And I don't remember was because that was
July.
July.
Philando Castile
Yeah.
or George Floyd? Yeah, Philando Castile was in July 2016.
Okay, because I remember I was there for a little bit, and Jamar Clark may have.
Jamar Clark was 2014, I believe.
Okay, so
Does that
that
sound right?
Jamar Clark happened right down the street from one of my biggest clients or whatever. So that's why I remember hearing about that one. But I do
Yeah.
remember seeing that like when it happened in the national media. And
Yes.
then when I moved here, I mean, I don't have a timeline, so I can't tell you, but I remember every single one of them, but specifically Philando Castile, obviously George Floyd was huge, and I was in a similar case. So I think when it was the Philando Castile, stuff like that, I was not, I mean, I was definitely politically progressive and stuff like that. I wasn't out in the streets. I wasn't there yet. So just perfectly honest, I was just kind of starting to touch into that stuff. And I think the election really is, Bernie and all that stuff is kind of really what got me more engaged. I grew up more
Same. Yeah.
kind of right wing and was like had to drag myself out of that. I went to college and just saw the real world. And then not only that, but
Yeah.
worked in sales in the market and was like, wow, it's gross out here. Things don't work the way you seem. Big corporations are not so pretty. Like this is not. So yeah,
Right.
firsthand, it wasn't like, oh, I got like liberally indoctrinated by college. No, if anything, it was just the real
No.
world.
Yeah. No, similarly, I voted for Ron Paul. In college, I was like, ooh,
Yeah, I
libertarianism
was
and
like a
trying to
libertarian for sure.
trying to figure out like how that meshed with my morals. And it was the whole like, oh, I'm socially liberal and fiscally conservative until I learned, and you learn more and you grow. Um, yeah, we all have our journeys, don't we?
I think that's exactly. And I grew up very Catholic, and then yeah, I think at some point it was like it wasn't the belief systems and the things there that were the issue. It was the people around you. And you're like, well, no,
Yeah.
none of you fucking believe this. None of you. And there's a few that do, and sometimes to an annoying right, but you're like, well, I know you think taxation is theft, but at least you like aren't a racist or something, or have some principle, I mean, for Christ's sake. So yeah, I mean, there's some people that actually do have the principle, and I don't agree with them on everything, but at least they're I I get it, and especially now, you know, um, I have hope that I don't think the government's going away anytime soon. Number one, but I do have hope that if we do have to deal with it, that we could do the best we can.
Yeah.
So obviously, I'm like, well, I want to try to make it better.
Right, right.
So
I know. I'm not like
so
totally
there's that,
cynical.
But
Yeah.
I grew up around Chicago, so it was lots of, I mean, honestly, it wasn't just Democratic corruption, it was Republican corruption too. And what, like every Illinois governor is like in jail, and
Yeah.
all of our,
I'm
you know,
from
and
I'm from Illinois too, so I get I get it.
yeah. So I grew up around there, and Northwest Indiana, the politics are really slimy. It's like, oh, I
Mhm.
mean, every sheriff, every judge, everyone, they're all going to jail. It's just like
Yes.
crazy the amount of people, So that's just what I grew up around, and so
Yeah.
um, I I remember just associating corruption just across the board, although I definitely was conditioned by the people around me to think it was like Democrats or something. And then you're like, that's not necessarily the case. And I think there is a lot less corruption back then, even than there is now. And now it's just so blatantly stupid in your face. Anybody who's even like
Right.
remotely on the level has been kicked out of the establishment, or especially on the right. I mean, it's just gotten so disgusting. Anyways, so that's what kind of got me. And then I want to say George Floyd, obviously that was huge. And I think
Mhm.
there's a lot of tension leading up to George Floyd. So it wasn't like George Floyd just happened and that was just a one big event. Like
Right. Like it came out of nowhere.
there's a bunch, and I don't remember the names of all those people, sadly,
Mhm.
but I just remember there is a bunch of nonstop, and I feel like a lot of this stuff is probably still happening, but maybe we just don't like see it. And it almost seemed like there was like reporting fatigue on it, and they just stopped even like showing, but God, it was a litany of police brutality. And then we got to George Floyd,
Mhm.
and my wife was pregnant with my first child, who was due in
Mm.
June.
Wow,
So,
2020.
uh-huh. Yeah. And so I worked at REI in Roseville at the time. And so that was, it was weird because it's near Rosedale. There's like some people that supposedly went there to riot or something. I don't know. They like chased him out like in a second, but they had us close our store. They boarded it up even
Mhm.
too.
Mhm.
But I remember the because that was what, like, Memorial Day.
It was, yeah, Memorial Day weekend.
I think it was actually on Memorial Day, wasn't it though? We should look that
No,
up.
I think you're right. May 25th. When was
I think it was.
Yeah, you're spot on. That was Memorial Day. It was a Monday.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think I was actually off that day, but I had to work. Oh God. Okay. So we were in store wasn't open. We were like on
You were still doing like
online orders
curbside or
only.
yeah.
My God, what
Wow.
time was it? So we were
I
online.
know. Like, what is this life?
Yeah. So I remember my boss like freaking out, and she just panics, is one of those people that just panics. And I remember her just, panicking and running around the building and telling everybody, my gosh, there's a big group of people, riding or whatever the hell near
Mm,
Midway, and they might be coming up the, street here, so we gotta be ready to go
yeah.
if. And so she's like, "Keep your stuff nearby," and, you know, I think it was like 10, 15 minutes, and then she goes over the intercom, "Everybody get out of here." So I just remember
Just so dramatic.
back. Yeah, it was ridiculous, and looking back, it just was silly. But I mean, honestly, and then I drove home and I had to drive through 94, through town into Woodbury, and
Yeah. Yeah.
totally fine. Totally fine. Nothing, nothing to see. And so I end up getting back home, and obviously, I was probably watching Mercado at that point. I watched
Hmm.
Mercado from the beginning. So I watched him from
Wow. Nice. Yeah. Yeah.
literally from the fucking drop. I don't know if I
Hmm.
I somehow found it on that first day or whatever, but that was incredible. And I don't think he was there like the first day, but he was like, one of the days after. But yeah, I just remember, yeah, that. And then I had my wife was pregnant. I did not have the ability to go anywhere, and I felt
Right.
like,
Yeah.
"God
Yeah.
damn it, I wanna do something. I wanna
Right.
fucking do something. What can I goddamn do?" And it just killed me, and I remember posting about it and just, like, feeling like a fucking lunatic. And, even like right now, when you talk about these events to the outside
Hmm.
world, it's like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? This is crazy,
Right. Right. They're like, oh, you're just, yeah, you're
yeah.
blowing it
And
out of
so,
proportion. And you're like, no, I cannot even scratch the surface on how awful this all is and what it's
It's not
like,
even
right?
close to what I'm explaining.
Right. Right.
Yeah. So I remember that happening, and just that feeling of, yeah, just it was awful. And so,
Yeah.
basically, and I've got, 2 young kids, and
Mhm.
it's just not the time to be able to do that stuff.
I told my husband just today, I was like, man, there better not be any like fascist takeovers of our government when we're retired because I want to fucking travel. I don't want to be in the streets. I don't want to be going to, community meetings and talking to our elected officials about how shitty it is, like doing mutual aid. Like, no, I want people taken care of so I can go live my life. Nobody wants to be doing this shit.
'Cause you
It's
will.
annoying. Yeah, exactly.
'Cause
Because
you
it's like, yeah, well,
Yeah, 'cause you will. You're gonna be fucking
right.
out there.
Yeah. I think, how old are your
Yeah,
kids, Kevin?
5 and 3.
5 and 3. Okay, so yeah, mine are 11 and 2. And my 11-year-old, when it was the day that I'm trying to remember his
So what
name.
is he was what, 5 then?
He was 5 during George Floyd, but when after um Philando Castile after the trial, what was the guy's name? Geronimo that yeah, I don't even know. Stupid fucker. Geronimo Yanez. That was it. Geronimo Yanez.
Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah. So the day that he was found not guilty, my husband was out on a work trip and it was just me and my son. He was 2.5. And so guess where he came with me that night? He came with me to the Capitol and he rode on my shoulders while we marched down University Avenue. And he was on 94 with me, like with glow sticks and like, all these and and I look back at that and I'm like, oh my God. I brought my so unsafe and stupid to like be on the highway. And I remember someone being like, "Oh, the police are here and they're staging to use, like tear gas on us. So you better." And I'm like, "Yeah, it's like midnight. I should probably go with my toddler." Like, what the fuck? That was stupid. But all that to say, this kid has grown up with like being and so the next day that my husband comes back it was Father's Day, so this was in June of 2017. It was Father's Day. My husband came back from his work trip and I'm like, hey, happy Father's Day, we're going out to protest. And so all three of us went as a family with little 2.5-year-old to yeah. And so it's like it's so hard because you have to weigh that like normal life and parental responsibility with like these kids, like, my thought is, like and also I only had one small one at the time, so that made it easy too. It was, like, it's portable. But if, like, children are old enough to experience state violence towards themselves and their families, then my son is old
Mhm.
enough to learn about it
Yeah,
and
hear about
to
it.
be
Yep.
active within what's reasonable for his age. Um,
Yeah.
Probably wasn't reasonable to keep him out that late, but damn it, we were like marching with people, and so many people are like, "Oh my God, look at him! We're so glad he's out here." And I don't
Yeah.
know.
No,
It's
I
hard though
I
as a parent,
I'm the
isn't
same
it?
way.
You're just like so stuck.
I talk about it. I have, obviously do the best you can to
Hmm.
not scare the absolute shit
Yeah.
out of them, but
Right.
I talk about it and I try to frame it in ways that they understand because honestly,
Hmm.
if you watch the media that they watch, they put out villains and things like that. So
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
do have understandings of these things. We brought them to the No King. So I just kind of
Nice.
throw it out as
Yeah.
the understanding the king thing. And,
Yeah.
honestly, I think the thing that my son struggles with the most is he was like, why don't we call the police? Like on ice.
Yeah.
And he'd ask it
Hmm.
repeatedly, and I'd be like, "Well,
Yeah.
sorry, buddy."
How did you answer that?
Well, I was like, "That's what happens when you live under a king, because unfortunately, they're the ones that,
Yeah.
law of the land is the what the king decides." And so, you
Mhm.
know, um, yeah, I think, yeah, it was something like that. Um, but yeah,
Yeah.
it's tough, and especially because as kids, like they're, even at their daycare, they have cops and firefighters and things that come there. And
Mhm.
I don't,
Yeah.
I generally, I totally, I respect people that are in public service, and anybody that hears or sees or recognizes that there is a dangerous situation going on and decides I'm going to run towards it and make sure that whatever is going on is taken care of, or that these people are made safer. Like, hell yeah, I respect that.
Right.
Do I think there's serious issues with the institutions? Yeah, of course. And I think those are separate conversations, but I don't think that, it does pain me to, situation there, because yeah, and okay, and perfect example. So when I met you, the day that we first met was at the
Yeah.
sound protests at the hotel. And
That's
when the
so
cops
badass.
came up,
Yeah.
yep, and when the cops came up, you were talking to them, and I just remember, I think you were pretty emotional.
I got pretty
Um
emotional. Yeah.
and I mean, hell, I was too. I was too.
Yeah.
And I
We're all feeling it.
remember you just being like, I'm the daughter of a retired police officer, something of that sense.
Mhm.
Talk about that and maybe how that affects your view on this situation, given that
Yeah.
last kind of question that we talked about.
Yeah. So, yeah, my dad was a street cop for 35 years. Most of his career was spent in Madison, Wisconsin. And so, he worked the night shift a lot when I was little. So I remember, like, we'd go to bed and he'd be at work and he'd come home in the morning, sleep a few hours, and then we'd wake him up. And, so I had this idea of like, oh, my dad is this cop, and like he'd bring us to the station here and there, me and my brothers. And just, it was my dad. And like I looked up to him and his work and saw it as like catching bad guys and community service and that sort of thing. And so that's what made watching Philando Castile get killed hurt so bad for me, because I'm just like, I look, I thought about that and I'm like, I could not imagine my dad like being in a situation like that where he would choose to shoot someone 7 times out of fear that they had a gun. Like my dad, he always is like, I'm an old school cop. The training just isn't what it used to. We de escalate and we go hands on if we have to. But like, he's like, I can count on my hand the number of times I drew my weapon in my career and I've never fired it. And so, like, he was like my hero in this prime, like, this is what a police officer is, right? And so then, like, after George Floyd, I was, like, desperate to hear from him, to hear him say, like, that was wrong. And, we hear about the thin blue line, that it's really hard for police officers to be critical of others because it's always like, well, I don't know what their specific situation was. I couldn't say all the variables that put them in that situation, which I understand. I think we all can understand that, but I think we all can see when something is so blatantly wrong, and I feel like that's the time where it should be called out as such, right? And so when I remember my conversation with him where he was just like, "No, I could never, like, like, that was so wrong." And I was just like, "Oh, thank God," like, um, and so I've had I'm trying to think with our noise protest, but what was the other I'm just trying to think of, like, encounters. I think with being, the daughter of an
With
officer
the
and have
police as of
yeah,
recently, you
with the
mean?
police. Yeah, yeah. It's like I don't see I guess when I see them, I think of their family, and I try to like so when we were at the hotel and we were talking to them and I was getting emotional, and it was like you do this job because like appealing to them, you do this job because you care about the community, right? Like hypothetically, you are doing this work because you want to make things safer. You want to make life better for the
Hmm.
community. And what I
Yeah.
told them that night was they said we couldn't have our noise protest because it was disturbing the peace of people who are at the hotel. And I said, what about the peace of the people who live in Woodbury? What about the peace of those who are working at the restaurants who ICE is staking out and waiting for them to get off their shifts so they can abduct them? What about the peace of, the
Yeah.
people who have gotten shot in the streets? Like, is that not important to them? And it was just, I remember like they were really young. Two of them were so young. They couldn't have been more than like 25. And I remember two of them looking at me, and I'm and I'm like, I see you looking at me, and I know this is hitting you or whatever I said. And one of them, I'm like, I swear he's almost getting tears in his eyes because it's like, I told them, like, that this is wrong what they're doing. It must be really hard to not be able to do anything about that. And to go back to what you said about, talking to your kids about it, like, why don't the police do anything? Right. I was driving my older son to school the other day, and I think ICE vehicle was kind of next to us on the highway. It was an out-of-state plate. It was an SUV. There were 4 adults in it. I was telling my son, like, these are the things we look for. Like, hey, remember this license plate? We'll write it down and we'll plate check it. And we were on 36 headed towards Stillwater, and they just like took off going like 80. And that stretch of road is so dangerous. Like, people have died because
Yep.
of that stoplight there. And he's
Yep.
like, oh my God, they're going so fast. Like, why can't the police stop them? And I'm like, they're above the law.
Yeah.
That's the situation we're in. And then explain that to our kids that like the helpers and the protectors of our society can't help and protect us in this moment is so distressing, because that's not what we're supposed to tell our kids, right?
Yeah.
So messed
Well,
up.
and I think it was made abundantly clear, not only from George Floyd, but especially, I mean, obviously George Floyd incredibly, but
Of course, right.
as of recently, the interactions that I had with the town as well as the
Yes.
police were
Right.
overwhelmingly focused on just protecting Capitol. And that was the main thing. And they said,
Yeah.
no, we're not being inclusive to our neighbors, the hotel owners. And that was the main thing, well,
What about their business?
if you boycott a restaurant that's openly serving them, then you're hurting one of our neighbors. Well, what if the hotel that is housing and profiting off of the government contracts, and of the people that are harming our actual neighbors and that
Yes.
are scaring our actual neighbors from opening their businesses, what about them? And that's where it's very clear that it has nothing to fucking do with them, and they don't give a damn about it, and I'll just say this. So, in our group in Woodbury, we had Kim Wilson and we had Steve Morris jump in the group, and both of them, their main fare in the group was just trying to make sure that we didn't protest in a way that would disrupt the businesses. And then, even Steve Morris, he's trying to ride the fence and still try to seem like he's a good guy and cares about inclusivity and stuff like that. And then someone called ICE Gestapo, and he's in an argument with them about how it's gonna, offend his Jewish friends or something, or that it's like diminishing the Holocaust. And it's like, God,
Yeah.
and,
God, man.
and then it's like, okay, there's people being ripped out of their homes by people in masks.
hiding
They were
in other
like,
people's
there's people
basements.
hiding weird. And I think it's fine to say it right now, but one of the first things was, I remember, I didn't personally do it, but there's people showing up at like a drive-through, and there's people running out the back door and jumping in their like, trunk or back of their car. And they're like, let's get these people, out of their job because their coworker just got arrested wrongfully.
Yeah.
And so, and that was in town. you know?
Right, that's the thing that, like, I'm still is incredulous to me is, like, it's Woodbury. It's Hudson, Wisconsin. Like, what? What is like, these communities that ICE has such a huge presence in, and they're just it's like, it's Woodbury. I don't know. Like, I don't mean it like, "Oh, these things only happen in the city," but, like, the news is all about Minneapolis. It's all about Minneapolis, and it's like, even in our, like even in our suburbia, this shit's going down. It's just and then it seems like it's just greenlit by the city leaders, right? Or, like, they're paving the way for ICE operations because it's the path of least resistance.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think a lot of them, they don't want to offend their base.
Mhm.
They want to sound like they care, but
Yeah,
they're not actually going to do anything.
right.
Every single one of them. Oh, thank you so much for talking. You speak your mind. You use your voice. I'm proud of this town. You're all speaking up. This is democracy in action, but we ain't doing shit. So it's like,
Right.
what did we all come here for?
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know that. So yeah. Outside of that, I'm trying to think. So basically, as far as Renee Good goes, let's see if I could like
Mhm.
clip and find. I could see it definitely. There's a point where okay, here. I think this
Where
is,
yeah,
yeah, it
they're
says most replayed. So that's probably where it
mhm.
starts to get tense. Okay, let me share my screen here again. Trying to think if I can get it because it's got to be like right around here. I want to see if I'm too far. Okay, I got to go back a little
There
bit.
you go. Mhm.
So that's the crime scene right here.
You don't even know what's going on, do you?
So that's the vehicle that was shot at.
Montana, arrest the shooter! Put the killers in jail!
I might
It's
slow this
the
down. I think it's
four-wheel.
actually it'll be better if
Remember
it's
that
at
guy
normal
there on the
speed.
left? I told him the same thing I just told you. I was
This
like,
guy?
"You look like a nice man." I was like, "You look like you care about this and you're protecting ICE. You're sitting here protecting them and not protecting us. Why aren't you arresting the killer?" He just looked at me. I'm like, "What do we pay you for?"
Yeah. Well, it is really hard. I have a family member who's also you know, an officer as well. And, our kids play together and, we hang out and it's like, he's a real person too.
Yeah.
And you know, we're both parents. We both go through the same things. We both like have kids going through the same shit. Like, they're just people. We all live in this
Mhm.
dumbass society where we all are scraping by to figure out a way to make it. And,
Yeah.
for some people that's a good option. And honestly, they get paid a hell of a lot more than a lot of people do because of the fact that there's, so much need. So
Such
it's
high
and
risk, yeah.
and a lot of them, they want to get the fuck out of there, but it's
Yeah.
so hard for them to not do it because it is so uh I don't want to say lucrative in the sense, but it is like the unions are good.
Mhm.
They get treated
Mhm.
well. There's great benefits.
Yep.
They get great, medical and mental leave and all those things. Like they get a lot of, like, there's a lot of horrible things. They do get treated well in a lot of sense, to the point
Yeah,
where
totally.
it is very hard for them to leave the benefits and those things that come with it. And I totally understand it. So, I mean, you could look here and almost every single one of these people could be going through that, situation themselves, all simultaneously. So, I'm sure there's some people that aren't, but you know what I mean? So
Drive
it's
Honda.
definitely
Individual was driving the vehicle down the street.
the reality of our
ICE
system.
agent shot into the driver window, and the car veered off and crashed into the parked cars here on the side of the road.
Let's see if I could.
Right here.
Scooch ahead. I want to stay there.
Yeah, FBI on scene.
You can't help the community. Yeah, don't fucking let ICE get us.
I think it's when they start blocking the vehicles.
Mm-hmm. I was running this direction too.
But yeah, you can see the tear gas.
That's me right there.
Oh, what the
That's
fuck?
me. Yeah.
Where?
In the blue coat with the black backpack. Back up
This?
just a little bit. He comes up right. No. Back up. He comes up right behind me. I was videoing. Yeah. Play it from there. Right there. Black
Right
backpack,
here?
light blue coat. Mm-hmm.
Right there? Perfect. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
They're going after someone. Sorry, guys. I'm not trying to get into it. I'm not trying to get into it. I'm sorry. Take the side. I'm so sorry. Okay. They're Paul, right in the face. Right in the face. Right in their face. Right in their face. Scumbag fucking sellout. They're getting ready to shoot again.
At this point, you had already probably connected with the medics and stuff.
No, not yet. No,
Okay.
while this was going down, I was still kind of like back on this on the street behind these cars, watching them, and kind of going towards people who had been tear gassed. I didn't connect with the medics until all of this ended.
They're getting hit. Yep. They just popped someone right in the face, point blank. Point blank. Sick motherfuckers.
Yeah, look at you can see my mouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right there. You could see his hoodie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here you go. You're gonna run someone over?
Yeah, I remember watching it. I watched every bit of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I was still across the street kind of watching what was going on.
Once he broke the glass, I knew that I was like, oh shit, this is gonna get ugly. So you were behind this then?
Yeah, I was across the street from there watching.
Okay.
Still kind of at a
That
distance.
sounds about right.
Get the fuck out!
Yeah, and they were like, why they turned down this alley? Like this is I mean, sure, the street was blocked, but like this was pretty messed up that they turned here because this is all it's an alley, it's people's homes and garages and stuff, and like that I don't know. So I think the people who were there, were like at some point maybe went ahead a little bit, but they're like telling them to back up, turn around, go down the street, like don't go down this alley in between homes.
Here. Y'all some pussies! Y'all some pussy ass bitches! Y'all pussy! Y'all pussy! Leave!
They're gonna drop us in nuclear munitions right now.
Is that Chris June right there? I think.
I don't know.
Okay, he's a photographer.
Is that
He's really
a photographer? Yeah.
yeah. Okay, him and Mercado always kind of. I think they talk
Paired up.
back and forth, but he shares his photos and stuff like that as well. But he just does photos. But his work is incredible. But he is in like some of the scariest situations. But the fact that he just walks right up to them as
like
they're
right
pulling
up.
all that
I mean,
shit out,
fearless,
I'm just
right?
like, dude.
Incoming. Hey, you're too fucking short. You're too fucking short. Hey, you're too fucking short. No. Get the fuck out of here. Hi.
Y'all probably don't get paid enough for this shit. I know you don't.
Yeah, get out.
Y'all must be broke to fucking do shit like
Fuck out of here.
I think this is when it's going to start to get really tense.
The guy in the blue, the teal coat there is about to get
That dude.
blasted.
That dude, I was like,
Yeah.
when I was in college and high school, we were like smoking tons of weed and doing drugs and, going to fish concerts and all this shit. And so to see these goddamn kids like out here doing what they're doing, I don't know. It's maybe there was something going on then I could have done, or like, what was it back then? I don't even know when that was, but like Occupy Wall Street or something, maybe. That was a little bit early for me. But, I just don't remember anything of this caliber,
Right.
but it was like we were able to just
but like, yeah, no.
we were able to actually just like live our lives, at relatively like, yeah, there's the wars, there's things like that going on, but it's like, I don't know. So to see people like this right now, and the youth during George Floyd, and anybody who was a teenager and maybe a college kid during that time, like they lived in an alternate reality compared to what I grew up in.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just gotta point that out, just because it just overwhelms me with obviously it's like it's both sadness for them that they have to go through that situation, but also hope,
Right. And this situation, I mean, Renee Good was killed. It was like 4 blocks from an elementary school or a middle school, and they were on lockdown that whole day. And then after this, a few hours later, as Roosevelt High School students were getting out for the day, ICE agents just showed up and rushed these high school students, tear gassing them, throwing them on the ground, arresting their teachers, like high school students. That's like a handful of years older than my son is right now. These kids are radicalized by watching this violence, and like, and also in the in the context of having to know what lockdown is because of school shootings. And I mean, it's just like, I just cannot, I don't know. I struggle to find the words to talk about the effects that this whole situation is having on students and kids, and how that's going to shape them for the rest of their lives, seeing this go down.
Yeah. Hold on, let me just It's gonna be, I'll have to edit this. Give me 1 second. Can you see this? It's sideways right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yep. That's exactly.
Oh! These bitch ass niggas, bro. That was a grenade!
Sorry, I'm holding my head side.
Yeah. No, I know. I am too.
Why?
Oh yeah, better tackle that in football, bitch!
Teacher, guys.
Kill you!
Does that say time? Okay, sorry, I got a camera right in the way of the words there. You know, it's crazy because I was actually watching the live streams. I didn't even know this happened. And then I remember seeing this later and just being like, what the fuck?
Yeah. What the fuck? What? Like, so
I think there's
my dad's a police officer. My mom is a teacher. And so, like, these teachers having to go out and be like, trying to keep their students safe. They don't know what's going on. Like, it's just unbelievable that this didn't become like a national conversation about ICE showing up at a school and attacking children.
Yeah.
We're just gonna forget about that, right?
Yeah. Well, you know what? I want to talk about one that I think is probably the most forgotten day of 2025 is the fact that we had one of our state senators assassinated, her husband and her dog, as well as the attempt on her other one as well. And I mean, I'm talking like that was like a day before people were already like, I mean, even that day, it was like some people were like, wait, what happened? Like, there's people in the state that probably didn't even fucking know. Like, because they were just like,
Right.
whatever.
Right. Like somebody got killed. Okay. We're so desensitized to it or not connected in with the like, yeah. I mean, just like such a traumatic and terrifying event. And do you remember that it was like a whole day before they caught the man who did it? And like that he had
It was
the
no
list
Kings.
of names and it was no Kings and everybody was worried about what would happen at no Kings, right?
Yeah, I brought my son. Well, we didn't go to the large one though, because we were like,
Yeah.
fuck
Same.
that.
Yeah,
Fuck
we went
that.
to a local one too.
Yeah. I think I went to Egan or something instead because I was like, yeah, no, I just did like a bridge
Yeah.
one.
Right.
Hell no. Yeah, that was
Like it hasn't even been a year. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so I just think about that. And we were kind of talking about how you end up here, and how you end up
Yeah.
being activated to the point where you are, or like me doing this or whatever. And I think honestly, almost like how do I phrase this? The mental instability that going through all these things causes, not necessarily the fact that they happened is what's causing the mental instability, but the fact that other people don't believe it, or they're just like, whatever, or just don't care, or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
That I think has caused me so much anguish, maybe is the word, or just like
Yeah.
distress, disappointment, pick a word. I've felt every range of emotions about this. And I think I got to the point where I was like, I am sick of talking to the people that I care about, that I love, my friends, my family, and all these people, and trying to get them to care. Because
Yeah.
at some point, they've already made up their mind that they're
Yeah.
just not going to do anything. They're not going to care. They're not going to fill in the blank. So, yeah, and that's kind of where I got to this point where I was like, it I need to be able to talk about it. And if I can't talk about it, I'm not allowed to talk about it at work. I'm not allowed to talk about it
Mhm.
apparently
Mhm.
in social situations. I'm not allowed
Yeah.
apparently to talk about it in all these situations. So if this is the only way I could talk about it, then,
That's what you're gonna do, right?
yeah. But yeah, and also I grew up outside of Chicago, so Operation Midway Blitz was first. And
Yep.
so
Yep.
I got to see that because I have local social media connections, at least just from people I followed in the past and
Mhm.
things like that. I get flooded with Chicago media in the algorithm. So I all of a sudden started getting, hey, join this ICE group, for Chicago neighborhoods and things like that. And there were some really big ones that came out before Facebook started banning them and all that stuff happened. So, I remember joining all these. Everything that happened here, I saw. So there wasn't a single. I mean, honestly, I think it got the intensity is the only thing that really changed here that they didn't really see. I would say that's the only
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
It's just the pure intensity, the overwhelming amount of people. I think in Chicago, they said there was like 400 agents in the
And
entire city of
my
Chicago.
gosh. And like how much bigger Chicago is than here, right? You can
And they caused so much havoc there. I mean, imagine what would have happened if they had that
Yeah.
full force.
Right.
So, yeah, and I brought this up in the last one, but when they did the raid on the apartment complex,
Mhm. With
and
the
that was
children pulled out in the middle of the night and zip tied.
it was Greg
Like that
Bovino's.
should have been like the end of it all.
Mhm, mhm, and I remember just like that's one of those things. You're like, this should be a fucking mic dropping
Yeah.
moment. Like
Right.
nobody cared, and I just remember telling everybody I knew, holy shit, did you see this?
Did you see that?
Guys,
Right.
this is right in your backyard. Everybody I
Right.
know, every
Right.
single fucking person I know. I'm sorry, this is right here.
I saw a
Hey,
meme that had this goofy looking cat that said, "Lord, they be treading."
oh
It's like,
yeah. I mean,
you
and
know,
and every libertarian instinct in my body is like
right.
and to see every libertarian I know being like,
Mhm. Right.
I don't know, tread on me more, daddy.
Yeah, seriously. Hey, I'm really interested if you keep playing the clip from Renee
Yeah.
Good, the aftermath.
Okay.
If you keep
Let
playing
me
it,
go
I
back.
wonder what it shows.
No, it's gonna get
Because
spicier.
the
I don't want to lose that spot. So
yeah.
here, let me go back here. Because we could cut this up. This is excellent conversation. I don't think there's anything.
Yeah, no, totally.
This
I
could be
agree.
like multiple episodes, honestly, because there's such good info we're talking about.
I mean, there's so many angles, right?
Yeah.
Of so many layers of what this affects.
Well, and I think going into the history of why Minneapolis is here, because
Mhm.
Minneapolis is a different situation than some of these other
Totally.
places. And I'm not
Yeah.
saying Chicago hasn't had their large, cases of shootings and they've had big protests, things like that. So they certainly have.
Right.
But nothing compares to what we've seen here.
Totally. Yeah.
And yeah, so anyways, so you could see the screen, right?
Mhm. Yeah. timing. Perfect.
Yeah, so that's Chris June right there. He's sticking his face right in. That dude is great. He is
Right there,
excellent.
yeah. No fear, huh?
Yeah, that's I remember.
Oh, Cinderella.
The guy in the green. Oh my god. They just take him out in a second. Yeah.
And this,
I just
this
remembered
is
this.
heartbreaking. They just throw him in the snow.
Terrorist, coward, motherfuckers, get the fuck out of my coward! Coward! Get the fuck out of this neighborhood! We don't want you.
Oh, did I lose it? Shit. I think
Like,
it's just
they
a
were so
connection.
scared. The ICE agents were so scared and so unpredictable. They didn't know what they were doing. They were putting themselves in like really stupid placement and letting themselves be surrounded. And you could just see it in the way they were tear gassing and the way they were like being so aggressive. They they just look scared and they're like, oh, we have this tear gas, we're gonna use it, we don't know when, just no coordination. We don't want to push people. This is heartbreaking what they do to this person.
Yeah, let
And I
me
think
go
this
back
is who
a
I
few
ended up
seconds here.
helping.
30. I think that's good right there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, they throw him down. Wait, let me get on full screen here. Or get these stupid chats out of here. Okay, there we go.
Terrorist, coward, motherfuckers, get the fuck out of my coward!
Yeah, this part.
Coward! Get the fuck out of this neighborhood! We don't want you.
Oh, it must be the stream.
Yeah, maybe it goes out there for a second.
Let's just leave it on and we'll see. It'll pop back in.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you said you think you helped the person in the green?
I think it was the guy in like that kind of teal blue
Yeah.
coat, that younger guy we were talking about.
That got pushed in the snow. There we go.
Yeah, him right there.
Oh, I remember this. I remember this.
Sorry about that. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to screw it up. Fuck me.
I just remember him being on the phone with his doctors, being like, I'm supposed to be coming in for my surgery today, but I just got exposed to tear gas.
Tear gas, tear gas. Tear gas.
They postponed it.
For the local police. We are not protecting cowards!
Oh man, I can't get back there. Oh fuck. Can't get back there. Got multiple people are gonna have irritation in their eyes. Hey, welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah, I see him there. He was just walking away.
Yeah, no, there's
Is that you?
the second.
No, that's nice.
No, so we'll see if he, keep playing. We'll see if he catches the other guy. So it was the second guy that they threw in the snow, and that's they start calling for a medic. Back in the alley, he was still there.
Fuck me.
We love Derek. Yes.
That?
Yeah, you can see me. You can see me in the light blue coat. In the
Oh, right here?
to the left of the screen. Yeah, that's me. I'm pouring water in somebody's eyes.
Oh my gosh.
But after that, you'll see the other person that everyone got.
Derek,
Sorry, what were you saying?
that That fucking fan is so goddamn loud.
It's that fan, like every time after that day, you know the fan, right? And I was seeing all this. I'm like, it's Derek. Like he brought me so much like life, and what he says was so fucking funny that
Yeah.
I was just like it like helped bring down the nervous system a little bit, like bring it back down to this place of like reality, not like what the fuck just happened. It was more like, oh man, love this
Yeah.
dude with a rainbow fan and just like saying the most hilarious things.
Yeah, and I gotta say though, like when you start to I think it's really easy to watch these things online and you just start to see some of these people and you form whatever bullshit opinion you
Yes.
have, about it. But when
Yeah.
you actually start to meet these people in real life,
Mhm.
like anybody who has the like puts that much time to go out of their way to show up at all these things and do all
He's
this stuff and
everywhere.
I like number one, that's dedication. But number two,
Yes.
it's like you gotta actually give a shit about this
Yes.
stuff, you know?
Yes. Totally.
And I gotta hand it to it. Like a lot of these people I've met, I'm like, and you imagine like meeting like influencers or people, or
Mhm.
whatever, and you're like, oh, these probably people
Like Young
might have like
Gravy.
egos or some shit or yeah. And it's like, no, it turns out a lot of these people are actually really fucking great people
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they're
And they
really caring and
care.
they're really
Yes.
yeah, they care so much. They care so much like that it pains them so much.
Right.
So
Right.
I yeah, so I just had to put that out there. But
Yeah. No, I love that.
so this is basically the start of your medic journey at least.
Yeah.
This is
Keep
the first
going
attack
because
really, right?
yeah, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah. But if you keep going, I want to see
that's the stuff.
if he catches you while
Yeah,
he was still in the alley.
that's a good shit right there. Yep, missed that. Let me get all that. Yep.
Yeah, you can really see me. Water out of my
Yep.
backpack. Okay. Yeah, keep going.
Woo! Oh, fuck.
There. Listen.
Okay, it's clear now. Nah.
Yeah. Okay. So there goes the medic, and there I go.
Oh,
You were running the other way, right?
Did he turn around there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. Were there any other major interactions right around this time, or was this basically it for the? Because I feel like it may have gotten tense when MPD showed up.
You got Vale with your mask on?
it sucks, man. Sucks bad. Ah.
Anybody have any more water? Anybody? Water. More water.
Not doing well. It's all good though. We'll be all right.
Do you remember how cold it was this day? Like, was it super, super cold? Because I see a lot of people without hats on.
Yeah.
So,
It wasn't. It was probably like maybe between 10 and 20.
okay, that sounds about right,
Yeah.
which is hilarious because that's like not that bad. Because it got
Nothing. Yeah.
really cold after this, basically. The
Yes.
week after was like rough.
Right. It's insane. Okay. Yeah. So I just walked by on the left side, and then you can see the medic right there with the red helmet and the white cross. We had ran back to the alley. They were saying medic, medic, because the person in the kind of the like teal, not the first person they pulled down, the second guy was still back there in the snow, just like in this cloud of tear gas, And so like we ran back and helped, and he couldn't see, so we ran back and helped him out of there. And then, um,
See, God, I wish I could pinpoint this a little better.
yeah, they're there. I think I can see in the little thumbnail. Maybe not.
I think I just passed it.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's fine. Yeah. Oh, flashback 2020.
Well, and that's why, every time I hear, well, I don't really hear it anymore, but when initially it was like, oh, the talks of the guard coming in,
Mm-hmm.
that was like anytime someone brought that up, I'm like, they're not gonna protect us. They're not here to
Yeah.
fucking protect us. Do
Yeah.
you remember the last time that this happened and what that looked like?
Mm-hmm.
I still have nightmares from that, and I wasn't even there. I remember the videos of people
Yeah.
sitting on their porches
Yes.
and them marching through and fucking lighting them up with like pepper balls when they're on their goddamn porch. People getting so okay. Um, hold on, let me stop sharing really quick. I want to see if I could. Okay, so there's like different. What's a marker round? Is that the one that's a rubber bullet? Okay.
I
Yeah,
honestly
so
don't
hold
know
on.
as much as I should.
Okay, so here I'm gonna let me share my screen here. So this is what we saw very little of this time, which I'm very thankful for. Oh, here it is.
Mm,
And for scale, I guess I don't know how big that is. Um,
yeah.
they're very large. Um, but that's what I remember during George Floyd was obviously the tear gas, the pepper balls, but I remember an inordinate amount of marker rounds.
Mm,
And from what I understand, the way that these work is that they're supposed to, you don't shoot it directly at people. Number one,
mm-hmm.
you're not shooting it at center mass. You're not doing headshots. You don't do any of that stuff. They're a less than lethal, but they are still technically lethal. But that is a big ass chunk of rubber there. And so what
Right.
they are supposed to do is they shoot them at the ground, and they're supposed to like ricochet them up at the people somehow. I don't know. But they were shooting them directly at
Directly.
people,
Yeah.
is what I
And people lost
remember.
eyes. Yeah.
Eyes. Let's see if I could.
Head injuries. Yeah. TBIs.
This is from Minneapolis. Almost every single one of these are like blurred out, and you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta
Right.
unhide the
Yeah. Because
picture
they're
because it's so
horrible.
bad.
Horrible. Yeah.
Let's
Which is a whole other
see. Yeah, this is
conversation.
this
In
is
yeah.
okay. Hold on, let me share this screen here. Okay, so um, make it bigger here, and these are all during George Floyd. Let's
Yes.
see, why
Yeah.
is it making bigger?
Wow.
There we go. Um, you know, so to me, The idea of let's bring in the National Guard
National Guard.
and
Yeah.
they're gonna come protect us and all that talk. To me, that signals two things. Number one, you may have not been paying attention to what has been going on in the past, let's just say, 6 years now. So number one, but you have a lot more faith in
Yeah.
the government than I do at this point. Because anybody who thinks that the guard is not going to instantly get federalized and be turned on to us, I mean, honestly, what do you? So, but boy, I'm trying to think. I guess I have two questions for you as far as this particular situation goes. What does this bring up to you, like, just reliving this, Are there things that you wish you would have known at that time? Obviously it was inspiring for you to, get into this medic work and stuff like that, but I don't know. Emotionally, how are you feeling? And, I'll shut up and let you talk.
Yeah. That's a good question because I feel like that was the first time I rewatched that. Um, or what I mean, watched it, like re-experienced it.
Me too. Me too. It's a lot.
Yeah. It's a lot. I think it's still something that when we're outside of the active like threat to our community, I might process or I might just just leave behind and move on. But I think what comes to mind as the primary feeling is just sadness for our community, sadness for the South Minneapolis community that happened a handful of blocks from where George Floyd was killed. So sad for Renee Good's family and her wife and her son. Like all of it just seems so unnecessary, you know? I look at that and I think of all of the money and manpower that went into just even that day. For what, you know? Is anybody safer? Did they catch a criminal illegal alien? No, they murdered sorry, emotional support dog. They murdered one of our community members in the street. The killer is still somewhere out there. There's no justice. We watched dozens, maybe even hundreds of Minneapolis Police Department, sheriff's deputies, all of those ICE agents, like all of the resources that went into that and are still going into trying to do our own state's investigation of her murder without all of the information evidence because we're being shut out of that. And it's like, is that really what we're utilizing our money and resources in our society for? People don't have homes, people don't have food. People are starving. They can't access healthcare. And that's what's important in our society. Seriously. So it just makes me feel really sad and demoralized to watch that again.
I guess I'm struggling to process the fact that that was, what has it been, like 7 weeks now ago? Because that was the 7th, it's the 28th now,
Yes. Yeah.
approximately, something like
Yeah.
that. It feels like, in one sense, it feels like almost a year ago.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, it feels like it should still be like New Year's right now or
Yeah.
something. And it almost feels like, well, living through this huge stretch of time, which has felt like an eternity, it
Mhm.
feels like we missed out on this huge portion of time. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was not doing well before this. So, but that day was
Yeah.
obviously that was different.
Yeah.
So
It felt
that
like
day
definitely
was
a turning
basically,
point,
yeah,
right? Yeah. Where it's like there's a before Renee Good and there's an after. And that time, and
yeah, absolutely.
especially as parents that we have been robbed of, 7 weeks of our precious time with our children that's so limited that we have had to live through this shit. It's just heartbreaking.
Yeah. Yep. I think that that is absolutely true. And yeah. Yeah, and I guess that brings me to another thing is that, when you and I are talking about this, we do have the privilege to be able to, at the end of this, we're going to sign off here. I'm going to shut my computer down and I'm going to go to sleep warm in my bed
Mhm. Mhm.
where my rent is figured or my, mortgage is figured out. My
Mhm.
groceries
Mhm.
are totally fine. I have the
Yep.
ability to work and do the things that I need to, theoretically, to an extent, any American can right now
Right.
have my pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. And, I don't know, happiness is questionable, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The fact that we have that ability and we can just decide to turn it off, I don't know. I guess I find that troubling
Mhm.
for myself personally. And even when I've talked to my work, it was like, I was having some mental, struggles.
Yeah.
And they were like, turn off the news. I don't know. I, you know, I don't think that that's an answer.
No,
Number one.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. So how does that make you feel knowing that you have that situation, you have that is that a part of maybe I might just be inserting this. Is that a part of what kind of helped you feel like you would put yourself in harm's way, perhaps?
Yeah, definitely the privilege of being white, the privilege of my loved ones not being at risk of being violently ripped from their home and sent to a different country. I have the privilege of, a dual income household with a consistent job where bills are paid. And And I think also, I mean, so much of this is definitely the white privilege piece of it because that's where George Floyd's murder was such a huge reckoning for it. I mean, ideally for all white people, but I really used that moment to go deep, and to recognize. And it's not so much like, oh, well, I have this privilege and I need to recognize all these racial disparities. It was like, no, I have privilege and society is built for people with skin like mine. And so how am I going to put my comfort on the line to stand up for people who are vulnerable or who are being actively targeted by state violence? And it was almost like a commitment to myself that like, if that happens, then I'm going to be there. Then that's what I'm going to do. And yeah, is it risky for like my person and my family? Yes, but like nowhere near the risk that like the kids at my son's school go through just getting on the bus every day, So to speak to what you're saying of like, how we don't have that level of risk. So we can put ourselves on the streets and we can put ourselves out there to stand up for what's right, to care for others. And I think that between that and between also like finding moments of normalcy in my life and with my kids and having moments of joy with them and being silly. And, it might not be a full day or a full week that I can turn off the news and just live life, but because we do still have those small moments of joy and life in between all of this shit that's going down, like, that's what I think keeps me going and keeps me grounded and keeps me motivated to keep showing up at however I can.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I mentioned I kind of went on that tangent earlier about young people
Yeah.
and I guess I just really think about, you know, there's all the different shootings and,
Mhm.
the police involved shootings and stuff that we
Yeah.
we live through that we tackled earlier in the conversation. When I was in high school, college, so I grew up in Northwest Indiana. So that was, really the height of the opioid epidemic.
Mm,
And that was a very, very hard hit area. And although I wasn't personally, and I tried it, heroin and stuff, but I am luckily the type of person that anytime an opiate touches my body, I just get sick.
mm.
So somehow my queasiness like literally saved my life. But basically, right as I left for college, all of my friends started doing opiates. Um,
Mm,
the all the friends that I was around in high school and stuff like that, all of us, sold like, weed or something at the time, at some point. Like it
yeah.
was just kind of like I wouldn't say I was in a gang per se, because but it was like, what if I was black, I'm sure you would say so, is
Yeah.
kind of what I'm leaning towards. But
Mhm.
and then when I was in college, we would go on fish tour. And if you're unfamiliar with it, if you go to a fish concert or if you go to, just the jam scene, we'll just call it in general, like you show up at shows and there's, tailgating and stuff before, and it's generally like an open air drug market. And it's
Mm,
like a very well known thing that is just kind of accepted. And yeah, there's cops out there doing busts and things like that. But, let's just say generally it is, pretty much normal there. So as all of these, and I don't, do drugs or do anything anymore, so I'm adult, I have a kid, kids, I have responsibilities, I have work, and so, I've moved on. And also, like I said, so a lot of my friends were heavily afflicted by the opioid
mhm.
epidemic, and I've lost, I mean, I can't even count the number. I want to say it's probably close to 50 maybe friends that I have passed, or acquaintances, people I
Mm.
knew, whatever
Wow.
you call them, at the time. Legitimately, I'm talking girlfriends, stuff like that. I mean, like it's crazy, like my first
Yeah.
girlfriend. Yeah, all types of people. My neighbor, he committed suicide, but that was like one of the only people. The rest of them were all overdoses, overdose, overdose,
Oh,
overdose,
wow.
overdose. Um, to the point where you just became numb to it.
Mm,
And so I had all that stuff happen. Then, as I'm out there living my best life, in college, like what, go on a fish tour doing all this shit. And so then you grow up, you're living your real life, you're at work and blah blah blah. And then I move here. And what happens? All these people get murdered one after
mhm.
another, one after another. And in
Yeah.
situations where they didn't know who the fuck this person was, they didn't know at the time. And it wasn't until after the fact that it's like, oh, well, here's a video of Philando Castile smoking a blunt or something. Or, it's just
Mm,
like all this
mhm.
just ridiculous shit where you're like, well,
Yeah.
but what does that have to do with anything?
Right.
What
Right.
does that have to do with anything? And I, I think one of the things that really certainly radicalized me or whatever, but I think it really, I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with it to this day, but it really, really deeply affected me when I had people in my life tell me, because maybe they didn't know that I had done what I had done
Mm,
in my life or had done drugs or done all these things. But
yeah.
when you're talking about these police shootings, and then people say, well, they did this thing,
Mhm.
they should be dead. And you're like, I did that thing 100
Yeah.
times more. Like you have no idea. What?
Yeah.
Are you fucking
And
kidding?
so
And
does
then
that
I
mean
just
that,
want to be
yeah,
like,
you
do you
deserve
think
it?
do you think that I should be dead right now in that
Right.
situation? Because that's what you're saying. And although that might be true, I could still go live my life and act like nothing's wrong and,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So that has been one of the things that has really moved me and made me not able to sit idle and not feel comfortable not speaking up.
Mm-hmm.
But I still don't have the, it's not like I have the ability to stop like moving around with privilege or something, so it's
Yeah. Yeah.
like at any time I get to just like turn it off and be like, well, I guess I get to just go home and live my life.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Lucky me. So it's like, but so this is like, to me, this is the bare minimum of what I could be
Right.
doing, you
Yes.
know? Um, yeah, I don't even know where I was going with
Yeah.
that, but I don't know. I just think, yeah, I find it to be really tough. And then when I see other people in my life that are just like so unaffected,
Hmm.
I think, the trauma, I haven't even begun to process the trauma
Hmm.
of all this. The trauma of this situation is dealing with those people and seeing that and seeing those people unaffected and all that shit. That is the
Yeah.
trauma that I am currently dealing with right now. And I don't know how.
Right.
Yeah. And I think honestly interacting with, obviously I've met you along the way, but all the different people I've met,
Hmm.
it went from being like that was when all of a sudden it was like I don't have to convince anybody anymore. At least within
Yeah.
those
Yep.
people. I'm
Yep.
talking to
Like
people that
people
I
just
I
get
don't
it.
have. Yeah.
You don't
We
have
all
to
just
like, let's, get on the same page. We're on the same page. Like we see each other. That solidarity means so much, right? Of just like, I see you. I see that we're going through this.
yeah. And I think that was what brought me out of my, I don't know if
Mm,
psychosis is the word, or like, out of my episode of just like I was just obliterated. And I think that was the only thing that allowed me to kind of come back to earth here, because when I would go to work, "Oh, how's it going?" Not well.
yeah. Not
And
good.
it's like I couldn't even, anytime I'd even mention, like, not even go into detail, just like mention just the bare
Hmm.
minimum of what's going on. It's like, holy shit, Kevin, what are you doing here? It's like, Kevin, you're not allowed to talk about stuff like this at work.
Yeah.
You're supposed to just act like your life is normal. When people say, how are
Hmm.
you doing?
Yeah.
You don't fucking say it.
You're not supposed to actually answer that, right? The dissonance of that, right? Is like, I think of, I mean, you're a musician, so you get it. Like, I think of like this dissonance is what I've felt for so long of like, it's just, and it grates at you, right? Where you're like, this is not matching up. Like my experience of the world and how I'm supposed to perform at work and how I'm supposed to show up for my kids. And like after Alex was killed, I was like, wait, so, and that was the day after I took the day off. It was the strike. I joined up with the medic team. We showed up. We were like blown away by how many people came and marched in Minneapolis in -20-degree weather. And it was like, it was a blast. And it was so uplifting because, like you're talking about, it was like I was surrounded by all these people who got it and who were living in the same reality as me. And just seeing that and knowing that we were all of those people physically there together was so uplifting. And then it was just like less than 24 hours later, Alex is murdered in the street. And then it was like all over again. And then I remember like that Monday comes around and I'm like, wait, so I'm supposed to just go to work?
Yeah.
We all watched this man, this like who we found out was a beautiful person, get executed. And he is a healthcare worker. I'm a healthcare worker. He's 37.
Yeah.
I'm 37. Renee was 37. I'm like, I found out that Alex was in my graduating class at the U of M and went like lived in my dorm. And it's just like these layers of like community and like how close how close knit we are. And for that to happen, and it's just like, okay, move along, get back. We gotta, strike's over. You gotta get back to, and like, as much as I wanted, I think so many of us feel like throw it all the fuck away. We need to be in the streets every day and like be
Yeah.
fighting this and on strike and shut this shit down. Like the reality is that we can't. We don't have a society where we can do that. We don't have a safety net
No.
for people. We're trying to build it, right, with mutual aid, but like we can't. And that's why they can still just string us along and
Yeah.
like fuck us up. And we just have to take it, right?
I feel like this weird, oh God, it's this really fucked up situation with work where it's just like, it's almost like unless you're directly like, did you get murdered? Did they did the did they come to your house and kick down
Yeah.
your door? Like,
Yeah.
no, it was my neighbor. Oh, then get your ass here. You're fine. You know? I mean, that is literally I think to be like, oh, this is us against fascists, this is us against MAGA, blah blah blah. No, 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 no. This is the tilt of capitalism, entire thing built up, standing up against us the way it was meant to, and we're all the way at the bottom, standing here against this huge system, which is like got a massive fucking scope staring at us from 100 miles away, and they're gonna hit us square in the forehead. They got us on lock.
Totally.
And yeah, I mean, like they've been building up the capabilities and been getting better and better, and now they are so well leveraged against us. It's
We
yeah,
don't stand a chance.
and
What it feels like. It's like we have to
yeah,
survive until the system self implodes, and then we can come
well,
out of the rubble of that if we survive, right?
and what is war? When you think about a war, yeah, there's some like who maybe's got more heart or who's got more grit or blah blah blah. A lot of it comes down to who has the fucking resources and the supply lines and all those things to keep going. Do you have the resources? Do you got the food? Can you get rid of the I don't know about the trash or whatever, but I mean, can you keep the trenches clean of diseases or whatever the fuck? I mean,
Yeah, I know what
whatever
you
the
mean.
fuck that they
Yeah,
have to
yep.
do, they have to outlast disease. They have to outlast supplies. They have to outlast all these things. And when I think about that, ICE, I mean, and they haven't even talked about the additional funding. I think just from the beautiful bill, it was 170 billion for like 4 years. That's
Yeah.
more money than fucking God. I mean, and I saw let me see. I saw the other day it was Alligator Alcatraz has a porta potty contract. How much? Let's just throw a number out there. What do you think that contract is
Oh my
worth for that
God.
porta potty company?
I have no idea.
Just throw a number out. Let's see, porta potty.
1,000? I'm afraid I'm gonna go way too high, like way too ridiculously high. How
$9
much is a porta potty? I don't know. Shut the fuck up.
awarded to political donors without being competitively bid.
Lord.
Tampa Bay
What are we even doing
Times.
here? What are we even doing? Have you figured out how not to pay federal taxes yet?
Yeah, good question. It sucks because for individuals, they'll fuck you over so fast. If you're a
They
business, you have
totally
the
would.
ability to
Yeah.
take a little bit more time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in a rough situation. And, we haven't even talked about Iran, you know.
Oh my God.
That's just
Yeah.
today. Just
Yeah.
today.
That's today. That was just today.
Keep fucking knocking this down.
I didn't even get to tell you about my 3 heavily accented Latino people accosting me in the Marriott hotel parking lot.
Okay, do you want to I would love to talk about that if you're fine with it, because
Yeah.
you're following up with it, right? So it's not like
Hmm.
they know who you are.
Oh yeah, they know who I am and where I live, so it's like,
Yeah.
come at me. I am actually tapped, and I know the kids are going to be up early, so I might
Yeah,
have to
I
call it
would
for
love to
tonight.
continue.
Let's keep
I would
chatting.
love to.
It's
This is great.
You ask really good questions, and it's just been a really, like, honestly therapeutic conversation to just talk to somebody about
For me
this
too.
who's as in it. So yeah, would love to talk more and tell you all about that debacle.